Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to session 3. Now, in today's class, we're going to be going over conditioning. Now, bodily conditioning and being present in the body is a common concept. You hear it a lot in many mindfulness communities, but the human body operates on its own rules, regardless of our thoughts about them, and we're outside of our conscious control often. So it's kind of freeing, isn't it, right? Knowing that your hair is growing right now, that what you're doing is happening all the time. Your fingernails are growing. Your heart's beating. You don't have to think about it. All these things going on, your heart beating, your digestion, your breathing, all of it keeping you running. You don't have to think about any of it, and yet it continues. So what exactly is going on? Because however marvelous your body is, and it is, make no mistake about it, at this stage you most likely have a lot of conditioning that you're working with, both psycho-emotional as well as physical, and we have to work with them together. It's the interconnected nature of the body-mind. If you're just doing one, it's like you're just focusing on one side of the coin. If you have something like a herniated disc, the muscles around that area will be incredibly tight. And a lot of that is simply because we suffer more in our imagination than we do in our reality. So it's like a child imagining snakes under the bed, a dragon in the closet. Fear and anticipation of pain then evaporates when it is seen for what it is. When you pull your head out from the covers, you just see the dragon is just a coat and the snakes are just socks. It really can help to think of the body like an overprotective mother, just like the mind too. It's doing the best it can, and sometimes it's important that boundaries are set. After all, your body cares about you so much that it simply doesn't want you to be in pain. And as you learn to associate pain and lack of pain through continued experience with certain movements, this becomes turned into our conditioning. It's the application of the pleasure-pain principle observed. So what we're looking at doing in the coming lessons is discovering first where the boundaries already are, boundaries of your movement, and then second, discovering where they can be expanded. So my friend, I am very excited at your willingness to continue exploring the limits of your being, and I wish you the absolute best in the lessons to come. We're going to start off with just a spinal scan, just tuning in to the entire body scan, but narrowing it, focusing it just on your body or just on your spine. So take a deep breath, clear your minds of thoughts as best you can, and find that central guiding presence that exists independent of your worries and concerns, the innermost sense of me. Do a quick body scan right now, just for 5 seconds. Just see if you can feel it. Now pay attention to the spine as a whole. Feel free to move around a little bit, to get a good sense of what these often ignored deeper parts of your body feel like. You can actually feel each vertebrae when you get subtle enough. Now, when you have a certain location that you're interested in today, maybe you have an injury, you don't ignore the rest. The entire spine is what we're after, not just isolating one spot. Because the spine is, after all, an integral unit, just like you and your being. And so you want to take care of all of it, not just the squeakiest hinge on the fence. And again, if you have another injury like a knee or something, this is still applicable. You narrow your gaze and expand your perspective. You may have noticed during the asana sequences that you held a certain posture for a while, and there's little twitch, jerks or something that come up as you attempt to pose. This is natural. This is expected. This means you're engaging directly with your body-mind system as you release small amounts of conditioning that your body has stored. You're getting used to the pose. In essence, you have already been rewiring your central nervous system. Congratulations. Now, directing your awareness to different parts of the body is essential to understanding the relationships ongoing in your body-mind that so far have been going on unconsciously and beneath the layers of conscious thought. To best make use of this often overlooked capability, a surface level knowledge of anatomy is called for. You can feel your way into the spine and different parts of your body. But let's dive a little deeper. Let's go into the components of the spine. Now, with practice at bodily awareness, again, a good body scan can quickly bring your attention not just to things that are, say, wrong with your body, but things that are right too. You can focus more on that feeling, intensify it, and actually just feel good about being alive in your body. So I want you to take a deep breath, clear your minds of thoughts as best you can, pay attention to that innermost sense of me, that central guiding presence that exists beyond the thinking mind. Just give up all your thoughts just for 2 to 5 seconds a day. You're not interested in them for now. Just be, just exist. And the health of the entire spine, after all, is what we're after, not just isolating one spot or paying attention to one thought. Spine is a cohesive whole. So let's see what parts make up that whole. We're going to do another exercise real quick. Go into spinal segment scan. So as I review the different components of each section, and different components of the section are brought up, and as you read the text, direct the focus of your attention to each relevant location. Maybe pause, review, see if you can dive into it a little bit. Identify what each location sort of feels like, and assess each location, each segment of your spine's current state. The first, and in many ways most at-risk section of your spine is a group of 5 vertebrae called the lumbar vertebrae. They're in the bottom. This tends to blow out most with ruptured and herniated discs, and any one of which can be rather paralyzing in their intensity until you learn how to move around and with the injury rather than against it. Now, second part is the thoracic vertebrae, which is the focal point for most postural issues that we see in the modern day. This is in the middle section of the thoracic vertebrae, thorax. Between undeveloped back muscles, forward head tilts, and rolled forward shoulders that do not track, some of you may notice some of this at play within your physical body, and many of the consequences of modern living are on full display in the mid-back. The muscles that support the head as it leans forward, as we're on the computers all day. This supports the head as it leans forward. It connects with the thoracic vertebrae, and because of social conditioning, most of us have learned to keep our tummies tucked in and breathe in efficiently so we look better through a rib cage that is actually just constrained by an inflexible and overly activated tense thoracic cavity, which then reduces the amount of available oxygen drastically, so people are just stressed out more because they're not breathing enough. These kinds of issues are endemic. They're easily addressed. That's what we're going to go over in this course. So the third and final part is the cervical vertebrae. This is your neck. This tracks whenever you turn your head. Most neck problems will generally be in the form of a pinched nerve or a pulled muscle, and it's always a result of muscular tension or physical trauma held elsewhere in the body. Maybe somewhere closer on the shoulder, maybe somewhere on the back. Now, the source of the pain is often not where the pain is felt. This is a key point. The physical postures experienced in this series will allow you to understand this relationship, and then to dive deeper into engaging with and addressing the trauma directly. There are the sacrum and coccyx sections of the spine, which, your tailbone and such. These are important enough in their own way, but our focus will be on the lumbar, the thoracic, and the cervical section, because these are the ones that we really work with on a day-to-day basis. There are ligaments extending along the entire group and between each of the vertebrae. There is a little sac of fluid called the intervertebral disc. Now, this disc provides a level of flexibility, because it can compress and stuff, that bone on its own is incapable. But it's also kind of a weak spot. And if the musculature that supports it is stressed in the wrong way or can't provide the necessary support, as is in the case when, say, someone lands too hard after jumping, rupture a disc, or they fall off of a roof or a ladder or something like that. Now, luckily for us, all of these issues are easily addressed with just a few simple movements, done with intent practice for a relatively little period of time. So, let's get to it. We're going to start off with a quick review of the homework that we have, and then we'll go over in the asana sequence, start expanding a little bit. So I want you to get a piece of paper or a notebook and bring it to you while you're on the mat. Take notes on the nature of your injury. So when exploring the movements that we're gonna go over, ask yourself, pay attention. Where do you feel pain? Describe it using any words that come to mind. Write that down. Burning, shooting, dull, aching, tight, sore, whatever words come to mind. And then draw a vertical line to represent your spine, and then connect the dots or connect the words to where you feel that particular sensation. So burning, boom, here, connect. Shooting, boom, here, little circle around it maybe. Now, if you don't feel pain and instead feel a lingering tightness or tension, do the same thing. If you're afraid of doing a certain movement, take a note. How close can you get before the fear sets in? Make that into a shape. Observe that fear. Is it a fear of pain? Stay in that position for a minute, maybe 2. Continue to breathe. So you're working inside, observing, and then you're externalizing this, making this real on paper for analysis later. Now, you might begin to notice small tremors, which are generally either fascial tissue releasing tension or something else. When you perform these stretches, pay attention. Hey, do you feel localized tension? Is it global? Take note as much as you feel comfortable, and whenever you feel called to do so, don't feel like you have to note everything down. Move at your own pace. Don't rush anything, my friend. You have all the time in the world. This is going to take a little bit of time to go through these sequences to affect your injury, especially if this is long-standing and you're dealing with a lot of deeply held tension in the body. So we're going to start addressing this right now. A little bit more movement with the asana sequence. We're going to go over forward bends. Now, in session 2, awareness, you learned about the body scan. And while performing the asana sequences from here on out, I want you to take a few minutes of silence before your practice to really quiet the mind, drop in your body, do a brief body scan, stabilize your breathing, focus your attention on the sensations of the breath, let everything else fade into the periphery. Now, don't ignore everything entirely, because what you resist persists, but instead strongly intend to gently redirect the focus of your attention to your breath as the distractions come up. The breath is then a bridge to the body scan. In this way, you prepare yourself for the asana practice. This takes just a minute, maybe more, no more than that. Now, throughout the practice, I want you to apply the body scan techniques at the location of tension. Continue to breathe, right? Notice the sensations of the breath at those locations. Intend to release that tension, but don't, shout at yourself like release, like you're like you're commanding an army. Just notice the breathing and breathe through any locations of tension. Simple awareness and breathing through that spot is enough to release gently, slowly at the pace of your body as it's healing. Now, as you transition through the postures, different locations of tension will be made available to you. You will always have more to look at. You don't want to get caught up on any one single location. A little safety tip here too, as we're starting to move a little bit more. If you do have a ruptured disc or some similar injury that is still in the process of healing, a forward bend done without respect for the injury may exacerbate your injury. This is happening because the habitual movement that has long since been a part of your physical body's makeup is forcing your spine to bend in a way that kind of squishes the gel sac between your vertebrae in a way that might really hurt and injure you even further. So if you're still healing, especially in the case of a ruptured disc and say forward bends, consider that you may have, for example, been trying to reach the ground by stretching your back, when in fact your hips and hamstrings are just really crazy tight. And that is restricting the movement of your lower spine. So you actually want to release the tension held elsewhere in your body. When one door closes, another opens, and you will quickly come to understand that there is always another way to move, my friend. And that's what we're looking at doing, freeing up some of the held tension elsewhere in your body. Now, physical postures done in exploration of possibility reveals so many open doors, not just within the body, not just with how you move in everyday life, but in how you perceive, how you actually see the world. So I respect the maturity that brings you to this series. And I expect that you will display the same level of maturity in assessing the current limits of your capabilities. Don't just focus on one thing. If you can do one thing at one time, you can do it all the time. So understand that all conditioning can and will be transcended, either now, soon, or eventually when you die. Might as well make it happen sooner so you can start clarifying the lens of your perception. Now, even the idea of conditioning as such will not be something that you need to identify with eventually. But for now, we're going to do what we can. So do what you can. Take it slow. Don't hold yourself back from experiencing the full possibility of your unique self. We're going to do this forward bends. We're going to drop into our body. Just not ignore the thinking mind, but just reveal that guiding presence and certainty that exists within each of us. When we stop worrying so much about the world and we focus instead on the simple fact that we exist. Take a few deep breaths. You're going to get ready for the asana practice. So do whatever you need to. Get your mat set up. Find an open, clear space with lots of airflow. No bugs, no dust, no nothing like that. Get yourself comfortable. Maybe get a little drink of water. Make sure you're not going to be interrupted. Allow yourself the time. Set a timer or turn off your phone for the next 30 minutes, next 45 minutes, however much time you want to devote to this. Highly recommend at least a half hour every day. But if you can make it up to an hour and you want to actually invest in yourself to that extent, then I highly encourage it. Because that's what will actually, when you start doing about 45 minutes, there's compounding effects because a lot of you've actually had a chance to sink in. If you're spending 5 minutes and you're doing that throughout the day, that's good. That's really good for some people. That resonates with me as well in some ways, in some fashions. But when you can really sink in to a longer session, about 45 minutes, maybe even an hour or 90 minutes, that's when your body is really able to go deep. Otherwise, you're kind of working at the shallow levels, and that's okay. There's a lot to be learned at those spots, at that let's call it depth of penetration. So let's make sure that you have what you need to be successful, set yourself up for success, and let's get to it.